Hammer Down Manning. And what I want to about today is the differences between being a company driver, W-2, and a lease operator or owner operator, W-9. Now, I'm going to share my findings and what I believe is the difference, but I do not down talk on being a company driver, because I know a lot of drivers that have built a career and they're having a good life. Over time, it's more stable, and you can actually make a good life out of being a company driver. But you have those in America who don't mind taking risk. And lease operators, owner operators are risk takers. And the difference between the two is the tax advantages. Being a W-2 company driver, you're limited with your write-offs and your deductions because you don't have a lot of equipment to write off. You don't have all the deductions that, say for instance, a company would have, which I discussed in one of my videos about Section 179. The difference is that you can actually, whether it's finance or lease, you can actually write off 100%. Instead of spreading it over 5 years, you can write off 100% of your equipment to put more money in your company and make your company more cash heavy in order to do other things. But as being a W-2 employee, you're limited. You only can write off certain things, maybe food and maybe clothes and things, small things that really would not be as significant as it would as being a company, W-9, contractor, business to business, however you want to say it. But this all depends on what are your goals. If you're comparing the two, what are your goals overall? Yeah, as a company driver, you can also save money. You don't have to worry about breakdowns and things like that had to go back into the company. So you can also save money, but the money that you can save will be a little bit slower than if you was to take a risk. And like I said, that being a company driver is more stable. It's more stability. Like I said, I know company drivers who work 15, 16, 17, 20 years, and they're living a comfortable life. Got houses, and pretty much got everything they want. It all depends on your personal preference. Neither is better than the other. It depends on your personal preference. But as being a company, business to business, or contractor, you have a higher risk. And entrepreneurship is higher risk. I mean, you can take a lower risk, stocks and things like that, but being an entrepreneur, you can win big and you can lose big. Being actually a company driver, you have less control. And what I mean by less control, you have less control on your off days, less control of where you go, how you operate, and things like that. Less control of where you get your maintenance at. And the less control is less stressful, but sometimes it can be a little more stressful depending on the company you're dealing with and how they operate. But with being a company, lease purchase or owner operator, you have more control. You can run 2 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 days on, 3 days off. However you feel the need to operate your company, you can do that being an entrepreneur. But I would advise try to get as much money as you can, but it's all on you. The ball is in your court, and you have less freedom being a company driver. Prior to me coming to Lease Purchase, had a company that I drove for, and I pretty much was on their schedule. I ran how they wanted me to run, and I actually left the situation because of maintenance issues, and they wanted to do maintenance how they want to do it. So I had to make the decision, will that meet my needs over time? Will staying there and me jeopardizing my CDL, is it worth it for me? So I made a decision to leave. I came into lease purchasing, and it works for me. It's not going to work for everyone, but because it's more hands-on, It's more risk, but it is an opportunity because, and I discussed talking about Section 179. Look it up. It makes a big difference because people talk about how you pay more taxes if you're a company, a separate company. But that Section 79 can help you use your equipment and assets. It's not, you really don't own it, but you can finance an asset to do business or lease an asset and do business and use the capital that you wrote off or you deducted from your earnings to put back into the business for the following year to, for some reason, $20, $30, $40,000 and back into the business that you don't have to pay taxes on. Say for instance, let's compare the two. Say for instance, you're a company driver and you make $120,000. Now, on $120,000, you got to pay a certain amount of taxes after all your deductions and everything. But as a business, that same $120,000, you got only taxes that you really have to pay is the taxes that you paid yourself as an employee, W-9 contractor. And the other money that you didn't pay yourself, you can deduct or write it off with 179 and put it back in your business for the following year, and it'd be a plus because you use that money to purchase more equipment. You can use it to, all type of things. But Section 179 is only for companies, and you can use that to your advantage because, like I said, it used to have to depreciate equipment over a 5-year period. So say, for instance, you pay $700 a week times 52 weeks. That's about how much you could pretty much write off. But now, instead of writing off that $33,000, $34,000, if you wanted to, and I'm not a tax professional, do your research, talk to tax professionals. But if you wanted to, instead of writing off just that $33,000, $34,000, you can take from your earnings and $40,000 and write off $77,000 and be more $40,000 more in your business for the following year. Instead of paying taxes on that amount, say for instance $120,000, you pay. Say if you didn't have no write-offs, you pay 30-40% of taxes, and if you write it off and use that Section 179 deduction, you can actually use the money that you would have paid taxes, $10,000-$20,000, and purchase equipment the following year. So those are just some of the advantages why I do lease purchasing and am a company, because you have more tax advantages, more control, more freedom. And yes, it's high risk, but you can use these deductions and write-offs to your advantage. But being a company driver, like I said, I don't down that because you can make a pretty good living. You can be a company driver, drive local, regional, over the road, But my thing is, if I'm gonna take a chance and make $800 to $1,700 a week and be away from my family, I might as well take a chance. And yes, it's gonna be higher risk, but then I have more control, more freedom, and then have the write-offs. That's just my perspective. You take from this whatever you want to, but this is just my perspective, and this is why I do what I do, because of these advantages right here. Until next time, keep on trucking.